This is WWE Hall of Famer Tito Santana giving a shout out to El Tiburon, Mario Cruz, who has probably one of the greatest podcasts by the name of Retro Wave. What impresses me the most is that he's going to be doing something about his favorite Mexican wrestlers, and I happen to be one of his favorites. So Mario, thank you so much for being a Tito Santana fan, and keep doing a great job with your podcast, Retro Wave. Fans, if you want to hear about the greatest Mexican wrestlers, please tune in. El Tiburon will be giving you all the information you need about all of us Mexican wrestlers. Again, thank you so much. Fans, enjoy the podcast. Arriba!
Welcome back to the Retro Wave. I am your host, El Tiburon, back here again. And today's topic, we're talking about our favorite Mexican wrestlers. Back with me again, I got my three-time guest, Mr. 24/7, Mr. Dance Chino Dance, Mr. Indie SoCal wrestling legend, Sexy Chino. What's going on, Chino?
It's good, man. Thanks for having me back for the third time, man. It's like, I guess I'm breaking the records here, right?
Yeah, if we ever have a Retro Wave Hall of Fame, you're gonna be a first ballot inductee.
Wow. So I'm gonna have to wait another 50 years?
Yeah. So you know the reason we're having this this topic this month is because September 16th is the Mexican Independence Day, when Mexico gained their freedom from Spain. So I thought, you and I, we kind of have some ties in lucha libre somewhat. You a lot more than me. So I thought, and we both love wrestling from Mexico, Japan, everywhere. So I thought, why don't we talk about our favorite Mexican wrestlers? So let's I first want to ask you, like, how were you first introduced to lucha libre, to be specific?
To lucha libre, I learned through it by probably a lot of people like Santo and the old timers, Blue Demon. But yeah, I watched it, and I remember watching one from AAA with when they were here at the Sports Arena, actually, with Jake the Snake Roberts. He was on it, and they had I believe Hijo de Santo that was there. Rey Mysterio was there, I believe, at the time.
Was that when they had the War of the Worlds or something? Was that one?
No, I think it was another one. I think it was just more of a live event, because the War of the World, I believe that was like a WCW pay-per-view. They actually made that at your pay-per-view. Am I wrong on that one, or was it the other one? Because remember they did have a World Peace one, and that was at the Sports Arena too. But that was Antonio Inoki with WCW and some of New Japan.
Okay, yeah. To be honest, I'm not sure. I just remember there was like a War of the Worlds, and I know Rey Mysterio was on there, like Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah, when you talk about Worlds Collide, I believe is that the WCW one. They were at the Sports Arena. It had the Gringo Locals, I believe, versus Octagon, and was it Hijo de Santo? Not sure, because it was Art Bart for sure, and Eddie Guerrero. I think it was hair versus mask.
Yeah.
I am
I
trying to
I,
remember.
I think my first introduction to lucha was I mean, I would watch it every now and then because my parents are Mexican, so they would watch like Telemundo and Galavisión. So sometimes I would be flipping the channels too, and I would see like AAA or CMLL, right? Um,
Yeah, that's the two companies. That's big
yeah.
companies over there.
And I remember in 1998, I went to Mexico, to Morelos. My parents are from the state of Morelos. And one of my cousins at the time was a big Lucha Libre fan. And at her house, she had like a giant Vampiro Canadiense poster.
Wow.
And at that time, like all I knew was American wrestling. So she's like was dropping the knowledge on me, like, no, like, this guy's the best, Vampiro Canadiense. And I thought he was Mexican at the time. Later,
No, he's actually Canadian.
yeah.
That's a shocking, right?
Well, Canadiense, I didn't put
Exactly.
one and one together at the time, but I was like, oh, well, he wrestles here, he must be Mexican. And
Oh yeah. So basically, if you wrestle in Mexico, it makes you 100% Mexican. You
yeah,
know what I'm
I
trying to say?
mean, that's what I thought.
Because I got to wrestle in Mexico, so that makes me some sort of Mexican now, even though I'm supposedly Asian.
Speaking of that, let's bring that up because you're Japanese. You look Japanese. Your
I
parents
think so. Yeah.
Your parents were born in Japan, but you were born in Peru.
No, my parents
right?
were not born in
No?
Japan.
Where were they born?
Parents were born in Peru.
I thought your parents migrated from Japan to Peru.
That was my grandparents.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was my grandparents did that.
So back to that. You actually speak Spanish.
Well, yeah, I speak Spanish, but like in Peru, they call it Castellano. So,
Oh,
but
okay.
there's the intricate words, like it was like different words in general, like gringa or freaking güero, or you know, th-
Yeah, and
there's the same way, I guess.
but my point being is, when I first saw you, you look Asian. You look Asian.
Because I
But
am Asian.
no, but
yeah, I look Asian because I am Asian. That makes
yeah,
sense, right?
but what caught me off guard is I think when we were trading in XPW, I think I like must have said something about you in Spanish, and I think you replied with like "chinga tu madre" or something. You replied with something. I was like, "What the
I
fuck?"
doubt I said that because I try to keep my profanity down in both languages.
Either way, I don't remember exactly what you said, but you said you gave me like a retort in Spanish, and I was like, "What? This guy speaks Spanish?" And that's when you kind of told me, like, "Yeah, I'm like from Peru."
Yeah, I got that basics going. Like people don't think that I speak Spanish or because total location. A lot of people like talk behind your back, and you're like, oh yeah, yeah, sure, sure, sure. And then you say something like, whoa, their eyes open up.
Yeah. Has that ever happened like in your because you've wrestled at a lot of lucha shows. So has that ever caught anyone off guard when you like say something in Spanish?
Yeah, so some of the guys like, what? You talk Spanish? You go, yeah, I do. Like, yeah, people just sometimes don't see it, but yeah, sometimes they can't even guess what my accent, where where like my Asian descent is from. Sometimes they're Filipino, like Vietnamese, Chinese, or you
Yeah.
know.
Well, it's not like your wrestling name is Sexy Peruvian. It's Sexy Chino. So that's
Well,
also
you know what Chino is like. Well, it's supposed to be the slang for all the Asians.
yeah.
That's what it contradicts, right?
Yeah. And yeah, and just like going back to the lucha stuff, like I know that after XPW, like, and we all kind of dropped out of it. You were the first one that started a train at I think it was WPW, right? And in Anaheim, which was a
Yeah,
lucha school.
yeah, that was World Power Wrestling in Anaheim. That was truly lucha. Like one of the things you learn from lucha is you better learn your roles and your arm drags
And
because there's
lucha, even
so
the
many different
lockup,
ways to do an arm drag.
even the lockup, right? Like when you wrestle in SoCal, Like sometimes you would have to ask, right? Like, are you lucha or American style or lucha? Because you lock up differently,
Yeah,
right?
correct. As like if you're working American, if you're wrestling American, you're gonna go to the left. If you're working lucha, you're going to the right.
Yeah, which can throw you off if you're kind of like not doing it like constantly every weekend, which I'm sure it wasn't an issue for you.
Yeah, like you look at the guys and you know who you're wrestling and then you go, okay, I'm guessing you guys will go this way instead of the other way. But yeah, it's like you just gotta know how to lock up basically. You know, you lock up either right or you lock up left. At the end of the day, you're still locking up. You're just locking up with a different arm.
Yeah, I remember I went to train there with you like a couple of months. And what caught me off guard, like it was completely different than American style training because the first time that I showed up, they were like, "We're gonna tumble.
Yeah.
You're gonna do a handstand on the edge of the apron and do a forward flip to the outside of the ring." And I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like I'm gonna like kill myself." But I did it, and I was like, "What?" But it was like it was just that, like a lot of tumbling. Like I remember El Genio was the trainer, right? And he would like lay down on his back, and we would have to run towards his knees, and he would forward flip us, and we would have to land on our feet.
Land on our feet.
Yeah, and I remember I was like scared, but we did it. Like I did it. I was only there a couple of months because it was like way too far for me. So I wound up not going, but it was like it was actually really fun, and I kind of wish, to be honest, I kind of wish I would have started there versus XPW, because then I think I would have wrestled for longer. You know what I mean? But it was just
Yeah,
yeah,
it's about timing. Like I feel it's always about timing. You know, it's like uh, I think XPW was a great place, the Asylum, to be perfectly honest, because it was a perfect place, even though it was a costly place for us. But I don't know. I feel like I like each step helped me get where I'm at and learn so much more. Because I look at it this way: if I didn't get a chance to go to XPW training, the Asylum, then I wouldn't know who you are. I wouldn't know Chaos. I would have known D, and and I would have a different outlook at things. But yeah, you learn the good things that you learn from everybody else. Everybody has something to teach. One of my main things I always like to say is learn to learn, because we all learn from each other, no matter how long you've been in the game or how short you've been in the game. Somebody always has something to show you, and you're like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. But always keep your mind open. Open mind helps a lot in this business or anywhere else.
yeah. I mean, you're right about that. Like our experiences, each experience that we have brings us to who we are as a person. So we learn. I was just trying to say, like, I think by the time like I got through XPW, because I think I even told you when I first started training, I said I'm doing this for fun. Like I'm not doing this to like make money, or I never made money. I'm doing this for fun. Once I stop having fun, I'm not gonna wrestle anymore. And I felt like at the end of it, I stopped having fun at XPW. So I think because of that, I didn't continue further along in the lucha. Maybe if I would have started there, I would have kept having fun. But who knows? But then, like you said,
Yeah,
who knows? Never know.
who knows? Actually, yeah, exactly. You could have been a bigger luchador, and you'd be a lot bigger name than I would. So you
Yeah.
don't know. It's like you really don't know. But honestly, it's Back to the Future. You change one thing and it's gonna react to everything else in your life.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of becoming a bigger star, so going back to you, that's kind of where you became Sexy Chino through a lucha school. So why don't you tell the people
Actually,
about how you became Sexy Chino?
well, it's like okay, so I left the asylum. Talked to Rob Black and told him that day because people were like you were there for a year and a half, and they said that you were supposed to get an opportunity, and like nothing happened. So then I told D, hey D, like this gonna be my last day, and he's like, oh, he goes talks to Rob and Kevin. He's like, no, and then D comes back, hey, we got a spot for you. Like, really? Yeah. And he told me, oh, they want you to be like Rob Black's, no, like Webb's step. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. You train for this long, you're gonna be somebody's step. So it's like, I went to Rob Black's office and told him, hey, I respect what you're doing, but sorry, I won't take your spot, and I'm gone. So then Rob Black is looking at the TV. He's like, what do you say, Kevin? And like he's like, oh, he doesn't want to take the spot. He doesn't want, and he just like thought about it for a second, and then he looked at the TV and like, okay, back to it. But no, it's like I made my decision, and I thought I was done with wrestling,
Hey, I
because
never knew.
like,
I never knew that story. That you
well,
had a
yeah,
spot and you turned it down.
yeah, they were supposed to give me a spot, but it's like you're gonna just be somebody's step. Nah, no, that's what I was thinking at the time. So who knows? But yeah, man, it's like I'm not, I'm not somebody who's like desperate for things. I'm just appreciate, and I do appreciate everything I got from this island more, even though it was very costly. But experiences are worth sometimes because like aspects of financial gain sometimes are not always going to be there, but happiness or like experiences are what's going to make it happen.
Yeah, but
That's
then you went on. I mean, I think you took a little bit of a break, but then you went on to WPW, the Lucha School. But tell me,
yeah.
what was the birth of Sexy Chino?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could go a little farther back if you want. I can even say
Yeah,
like
go ahead.
when when I went so what has happened was I was going to graphic design school with my friend, right? And a good friend to this day, my friend Philip. And and he's like, oh yeah, there's like they have like wrestling matches over here, which is Frankenstein's. My cool, like and then I went over there and I watched it, and like wow, it's pretty cool. And I didn't know about all these places. And I remember like watching B Boy versus Cholo, like that's a really good match. And I was looking to talk to B Boy and Cholo and things like that. And I checked it out, and it's like, and I was, hey, but then I was talking to Cholo, and he's like, he'll say, oh, where do you train at? Because I told him I used to train back in the day at XPW, the Asylum. Oh, no, like, oh, we're training in Anaheim. I'm like, oh, shoot, I'm around the corner, and yeah, so I went to go try it out, like check it out, and I had my video, remember, or like, well, you were gone at the time, but I had my one match, like I thought that was gonna be it, in front of a British Sphere poster, not in front of human beings itself, general, but you know, uh,
Who was the match
that's
with?
what I.
What match did
It was
you?
against Robbie Phoenix.
Oh, Robbie
At the time they
Phoenix.
call him, yeah, at the time they call him Smokes,
Oh yeah.
and
Uh-huh.
his manager was a stepfather.
Yeah, I remember.
It
Well,
was
Robbie Phoenix is still a trainer, right? At Santino
Santino.
Bros. Uh-huh.
Yeah, Santino Bros. Yeah, but yeah, overall that's what happened, and I told him, and I went in there, and yeah, they said, "Oh, well, you do this. Well, come and try and find." And I remember like when Ronaldo told me like, "We thought you were gonna be gone." I'm like, and they were shocked that I stayed that long. But to move forward, it was in Soledad, and you always remember you always remember your first match, and it was August 8th, 2002, and I was in Soledad. I was wrestling a guy that doesn't have a really good reputation that a lot of people don't appreciate. And he was just one of the guys that used to train actually with the Mr. California. And
XWW's Mr. California.
so yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
say
So that was my first match.
hey, say the nickname that you used to give Mr. California. You had a nickname for him.
I did.
You used to call him the California Raisin.
Oh yeah, like the California reason. I still I still remember like he oh yeah he would when he came into XPW Asylum, like he act like I thought like right away. It's like one of the first things that he told me is like, oh yeah, cool, like nice meeting you, things like that. One of the things is that can I give you my California Spine Buster? I'm like, wait a minute, you just came here to train right away. You want to do a move? And like, yeah, that's what I was thinking in my head. Like, okay, you know.
So
But
for those just to those not in the SoCal area, Mr. California was a hardcore extreme, maybe more like a death match wrestler.
more
And so
deathmatch wrestlers, yeah. But
yeah.
no, everybody's got their niche here and there. So, you know, that's what you liked, and that's I prefer wrestling. You know, I think that the art of it or the technique of it is better. But to each his own, you know, there's a market out for both wrestling, uh, hardcore, you know, hardcore wrestling. So as long as there's a market out there, people are gonna watch.
Yeah, and to be fair, I thought Mr. California was a nice guy. He never did anything wrong to me, but he did kind of have, like, as they say, some heat on him because he kind of came in as, "Don't you know who I am? I'm Mr. California," into the training. And he
Yeah, I
was a
remember that.
backyard. He
Like,
was a backyard wrestler, so it was like, and not to say I backyard wrestle too. So like, but I didn't come in with like, "Hey, don't you know who I am from my backyard wrestling federation?" Like, but he kind of came in with that attitude.
yeah, it's like, and we're thinking, what? You just haven't trained, you're already throwing out. It's like, so yeah, you just wonder. But like I said, he's still around. He does once in a while. He probably does some lucha events here and there still. But yeah, no, he was another guy that we got that I like I said I saw him at that uh, World Power Wrestling.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's like at the as we used to say, the Anaheim Marketplace. But yeah, no, that was my first match against him, you know. And like I said, I made a video of me hitting the shuffle, which is basically my dance, and doing my match. And I thought they would watch it, right? But then I found out later they never watched it. So I was like, okay. But but yeah, later on, like, you know, they came up the original gimmick that they said, or the original character or whatever persona they wanted to give me was Oriental Fury. But the deal was like I didn't have a mask, so that's it. And then like I was like listening to the music, and it goes doom 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 that muy sexy song, and go, oh, you sexy Chino, man, cool, whatever. But then like I said, I put my stuff into it with name, and it just clicked. You know, the crowd was into it. Like I remember like doing the first match, and I didn't have any gear, so I had my training gear, a Bruce Lee T-shirt, and some sweatpants. But yeah, and I remember doing that and wrestling, and wow, and but the crowd really liked it, and then they just sent me out there as a ref, and the crowd was getting more still kind of cheering for me, even though I was just a ref at the time. So yeah, things went well. You know, I wasn't expecting that. Like I was just want to have excited to have my first match and things like that. But yeah, you learn a lot, and this business has taught me a lot, and I appreciate it. You know, I appreciate the moments, whether good or bad, because I look at it as a learning experience. You know, it's like once you stop learning, it's time to get out of this business.
And so you've trained American, lucha. I mean, you've done more training outside of WPW and XPW. Would you say you still utilize a lot of your lucha training and your matches?
Yeah, guys, I haven't lucha. I use a lot, like some of my lucha training. I stick to doing the latigos. I still do those. Like I got if I'm in a lucha match, I can do that. I can do the arm drags. I do my alita and things like that. But yeah, no, it's like I learned.
What's an
Like I
alita?
made.
What?
Well, it's basically you springboard to the second rope, and then you just come back and either do a like a twisting one, or you do like the one I do. I just just fall back, and like when I grab the guy's arm, we just give him an arm drag. on the way down. But yeah, I do that one. I haven't really done the flipping one, but that's the one I do.
There's a lot of variations from what I learned in WPW. There's a lot of variations of an arm drag. Off the top ropes, off a springboard, off a wheelbarrow. A lot.
Yeah, there's like 100. Like I said, there's so many different ways to do an arm drag. It's like, wow, man, it mind blowing. Like I like looking at all the different ways of doing something different from basics, and yeah, and arm drags are everywhere, man. You can do an arm drag from here and there. It's like people, wow, but yeah, it's like shocking how many ways you can do an arm drag.
Yep. All right. Well, there it goes. Sexy Chino, for those of you that didn't know, has ties in the Lucha Libre game. But yeah, let's now get to our top 5 favorite luchadors first. Let's take a little commercial break.
Te preparé un sándwich.
Osito, ¿cuál es el secreto de Bimbo?
En Bimbo nos levantamos tempranito para repartir el pan todos los días.
Me encanta su sabor.
Ese es el secreto.
Acabadito de hacer, pan suave, pan Bimbo.
Con el cariño de siempre.
All right, we gotta love that pan bimbo. Every Mexican household has it. How about in your household? Any pan bimbo?
I ate bimbo. I mean, there wasn't that much pan bimbo, but I ate the bimbo. Like,
man, pan bimbo, you toast it, and then you put some cajeta. You know what cajeta is?
not off the top of my head.
It's kind of like a Mexican version of like butterscotch, but it's like grainy. It has like a grainy texture to it. Man, so good. Cajeta. Anyway,
Okay.
so anyway, we're gonna talk about our top 5 favorite Mexican wrestlers. So we're gonna go like in the other episodes. We're gonna start at number 5 and work our way down to number 1. So since you're the guest, we're gonna talk about your number 5 first. So let's talk about your number 5 first. So Chino, I could not find a theme song of this guy, and I think it's because he's maybe like never wrestled for the big leagues. You can correct me, but your number 5 is Superboy. Tell me about Superboy.
Okay. Like big leagues, you would consider what WWE, WCW. But if you want to talk, he did wrestle WCW, because if you look at the network, they have like a Fiesta de, I forgot, Lucha or something like that in the network. He actually wrestled there.
Oh, okay, my bad. So
But
no disrespect to him. So I only remember
I
him from
understand.
like the lucha posters around SoCal. I remember seeing Superboy and Shamu Jr. So he was like a top level guy here, like in SoCal, right?
Yeah, but one thing you forgot, it's like one of the main reasons is like his agility and the way he carries himself. But if you know, if you want to talk about like, he actually wrestled in Japan for what's that company called? Well, I think it's Fuji. Was it Fujimoto? I'm not sure, but it's like more of a comedy base or more entertainment based company. Like it has like the guy, I forgot what the guy with the Kikura-san, and it has like the guy with the ice cream head on top. They have the mask with the ice cream head, or like Super Dolphin, I believe.
So this guy's been wrestled all over the world, pretty much.
He wrestled in Japan, at least that I know for sure.
But what puts him at your number 5? That's pretty high to make it into the top 5.
Like I said, I respect him as a wrestler, respect him as a human being. But if you ever see his matches, oh my God, this guy can move. just look at this weight, just look at his style, just look. This guy can move, man. It's crazy. They always say like the big guys, this is like before you talk about the really big guys like the Keith Lees or the Big E's or big guys. I mean, this guy could move. Like he did all the lucha stuff, and also had like the flying ability, and he wasn't the smallest guy.
Yeah, I was right now. I saw like a video of him, and he kind of like maybe not as big as Bam Bam Bigelow, but kind of that Bam Bam Bigelow body frame. But he is doing like moonsaults and diving out of the ring. Like he's doing lucha stuff.
Yeah, he's definitely doing lucha stuff. So I guess you can consider him a luchador. But
all right, well that's your number 5. Now let's go to my number 5 favorite Mexican wrestler. So at my number 5, I got the Juice. The Juice is loose. Juventud Guerrera. At my number 5. He was definitely, I think, right behind Rey Mysterio. Probably the most exciting high flyer in WCW. Like outside of Rey. I think Rey Mysterio overshadowed him. But man, Juventud Guerrera was pretty damn good. He would hit that 450 splash. He did the air hoovy where he would like dive off a guy's back to the outside and he would get some air. I mean, what are your thoughts on the Juice, Juventud Guerrera?
The Juice is a good wrestler and definitely a good luchador. And like you said, it was a time where he like Rey Mysterio overshadowed him, but yeah, Hoovie's a good wrestler, good work where you want to consider him. And no, it's like you can remember some stuff that he did, and then he took that persona as the Juice, which we know is a confirmation to The Rock, but but yeah, just you take what they gave you and you run with it. How about that?
And he wrestled at an XPW show, and I remember that vividly because I think it was the San Bernardino XPW show.
Oh my god, that was like wasn't that like a rock concert at the same time?
I don't remember, but
it was like I think it was like a heavy metal concert at the same time. We had like matches.
I don't remember.
We were fighting for the attention, but I remember that because like that was like when Hoovie just got barely released from WCW after the Australian trip.
Yeah. And I remember being kind of like awestruck because I was like, shit, that's Juventud Guerrera. He's at XPW. And yeah, and I vividly remember that show too because Matt's not obviously listening to the show, our friend Matt that also trained. But that son of a bitch, it was a 2.5 hour drive from San Bernardino back to Los Angeles. We left, I think, San Bernardino. Remember back in the day, we would put up the ring at the end of the show, almost at midnight, take down the ring, completely take down the ring, put it in the truck, and then we would drive home. And I remember Matt was riding shotgun with me. That guy fell asleep the whole ride back. And I was like so sleepy, like sleepy. I was like sticking my head out of the window, trying to keep myself awake because I had to drive all the way back to LA. So, Matt, you SOB, but, I'm still here. So I guess nothing's lost.
Yeah, you survived that one.
Yeah, well, I'm still here. All right, Chino, let's go to your number 4.
I am super. I am crazy. I am super crazy. Bingo in time. You're gonna be working for me, so you don't wanna get on my bad side, cause everyone you look Latino. You ain't never heard nothing like this. Take a look around, my man, now help build this. You tryna kill
So the Insane Luchador, that was his nickname, right? Super Crazy. Talk to me about
Yes.
Super Crazy. Why is he your number 4?
Super Crazy is awesome. He actually got to meet him. He's kind of a friend. He's a cool guy. I got to meet him. He's like a friend to me. Yeah, he's like your friend. But yeah, man, it's Crazy the cool guy, and you got to think about his innovations. You know, like the 3 moonsault spot, like he does. First turnbuckle on the inside, second turnbuckle on the inside, and then top rope. That's very innovating at the time, man. It's like, think about that. And it takes a lot of skill just to do a moonsault from the first, because you got to catch enough air to do that.
I kind of feel like I missed out on him because I wasn't a big ECW guy. But I do remember like hearing maybe I watched like one of the matches, hearing a lot of hype about his matches with Tajiri and like Little Guido. They would have like these classic 3-ways.
Yeah, those little classics, man. It's like they even brought it back for like that ECW One Night Stand, that original one. They had like Tajiri, Little Guido, and Super Crazy having the match in New York, the ballroom, I believe, in New York, the one they used to have all the time, the ECW matches.
So we just brought up Juventud Guerrera and Super Crazy, so I feel it's only appropriate to bring up the Mexicools. WWE. Were you a big fan of the Mexicools?
You know what? The coolest thing about it is like, I was just a fan. And I was like, I thought it was cool. I thought it was pretty cool that they brought them in, you know. Do you know, just like you were talking about, like Juventud being in the shadow of Rey Mysterio because of the time, things like that. I think Psychosis was another guy that got stuck in the shadow, because Psycho's freaking good.
Yeah, best
His matches were good.
Best guillotine leg drop in the game ever.
Tremendous air, almost like a beautiful Bobby.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But and just to explain to those that might be too young to remember the Mexicools, it was I believe it was Super Crazy, Juventud Guerrera, and Psychosis, and they would come out to the ring in on a lawnmower. Right?
Yeah, they did. It was after they were called the Mexicools, and they were Mexican and they were cool, so Mexicools. But no, honestly, it's what they give you and what you go with it, because you get an opportunity, and they took it, and they went with it, and Super Crazy lasted longer than all the other guys, but at least they got an opportunity to be part of that company if they wanted to. And yeah, man, it's about the opportunity, and you can never take that away from them. They got to wrestle for WWE. They've been part of WCW, ECW, and other companies.
All right, well, now let's go to my number 4 favorite Mexican wrestler. So at my number 4, I got Rey Mysterio Jr. Man, what can you say about Rey Mysterio Jr.? I think one of my most vivid, fondest memories of Rey Mysterio is the night after Hogan turned heel. They wrestled at the MGM, like it was a Disney backlot or something, and he wrestled Dean Malenko for the Cruiserweight title. And I remember just being like blown away by the match that him and Dean Malenko had. And like, I had never seen anything like Rey Mysterio. I think at some point in the match, he did a springboard to the outside and Hurricane Rana Dean Malenko. I think nowadays that's kind of like, you might see that 3 times on an AEW show. But back then, that was like pretty like you weren't seeing anybody do that. So, I mean, for me, like, I know that he became a bigger star in the WWE, but my favorite version of Rey Mysterio will always be that WCW cruiserweight version that was wrestling Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero, Ultimo Dragon, Juventud Guerrero, La Parca, all those guys. What about you? What do you think about Rey Mysterio?
Ray's one of the people that adapts to the time, like Chris Jericho. That's all I got. That's pretty much is all you can say about that. You know, it's like, and I'm like you, man. I seen his stuff in WWE and had some really good matches, but I really dig the old school WCW stuff, man. It's like, look at the times. You got, like you said, Ultimate Dragon. You had Psychosis, Juventud Guerrera. You had Eddie Guerrero. You had Chavo Guerrero, you know, Jr. And you had Cyclope and Damien 666. I mean, come on, man. The talent is there.
Yeah. Pretty unmatched light heavyweight cruiserweight division, I would say. All right, now let's go to Chino's number 3.
Y ahí aparece el enmascarado de plata, el rey del tope, el que hasta hoy día sigue siendo el taquillero número 1 en la República Mexicana. Él es la leyenda viviente de plata, el Santo.
To be specific, not El Santo, but your number 3 is El Hijo del Santo. Tell me about El Hijo del Santo and why he's your number 3.
Hijo del Santo, it's like, oh my God, if you ever seen him wrestle, it's like a class in motion, you know, it's like he's very crisp of his stuff, and he can draw. He's a good draw, you know, but no, he's a guy that that's very didn't get a good chance here in the States as much, but he's very well known in Mexico and maybe even in Japan. But yeah, man, he has history behind him, being part of the legacy of El Santo, which is one of the original luchadors that really started the boom in Mexico. So yeah, Hijo del Santo is a really good wrestler in my book, and he shows a lot of great agility, and he's pretty clean. This stuff is really clean.
So you've met him too, right? I think you showed me a picture of you and him.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to meet him like in what's it called, Texas, when I did that tour for NWA.
Cool guy.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. Like, it's funny, like he, like, you can never see he doesn't. He's like one of those guys that doesn't take his mask off for nothing.
There's a couple of those guys I've heard from a few people.
There's tradition.
There's a couple of those guys in Mexico.
There truly is, because they believe in tradition. Did you know that Santo, the original Santo, like never really took off his mask. The only time he ever took off his mask, like he did a really quick pick, like on like a luchador. No, it's like a Mexican news station or some show. He did it really quick. There is footage, I think, on YouTube or something like that, but you can actually see his face for a second, and that's about it. Because that mask means a lot in Mexico, because he was buried with his mask, if I'm correct.
Yeah. I mean, the mask is sacred. That's for sure.
Yeah, over here in the States is another story with the mask, but in Mexico, oh my, that's sacred.
Yep. All right, now I'm gonna go to my number 3 favorite Mexican wrestler. So at my number 3, I got La Parca, and just for clarification, I'm talking about the original La Parca, who later on became LA Park. He just recently passed away, right? La Parca, the original La Parca.
No, it was the original. I don't think so, unless I didn't hear anything. You know the guy that unfortunately passed away was the guy that was playing La Parca in AAA.
Oh, I thought the original La Parca passed away. So the one that followed La Parca, the original, died.
Yeah, the one that was doing in AAA, the AAA La Parca, the skinnier version. And the sad part about it is like one of my friends, the guy that I'm helping out with, it's like that was like it's part of his family. So that was a really sad moment.
He was family members with the second La Parca?
Yeah, the AAA La Parca.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, I know it's a small world when it comes to wrestling.
Yeah, I don't know why I thought it was the original that passed away, but anyway, I have the original La Parca at my number 3 just because WCW again, the cruiserweight division, and La Parca was different, not only in the gear that he wore, but in the body and the size. He was a lot bigger than the other luchadors, which were typically looked about somewhere between 5'6", 5'10". La Parca was a big dude, a big heavy dude, and he was like there still jumping out, doing topes. I believe his finisher was like the Jeff Hardy's Whisper in the Wind, pretty much. And he was like super funny. Like he had the dance, the La Parca dance. He would do a lot of comedy spots. I love La Parca, the chairman of WCW. What are your thoughts on La Parca?
Well, I'm kind of shocked. I thought you put La Parca higher, but that's another story.
You thought I was going to put him number 1?
Yeah, because you always talk about La Parca.
Oh, I love La Parca.
You were, oh my God, La Parca this, La Parca that. But no, I gotta get profound knowledge. La Parca was a really great luchador. You know, like for his size, and he was able to even have a great persona. Being the chairman of WCW, actually grabbing the chair and making it look like he actually what's it called, a guitar. And he really made himself stand out, you know, in the cruiserweight division.
He kind of had a little bit of a cult following, because I see it in the YouTube comments. A lot of people, there's a little bit of a cult following for La Parca. And La Parca
right.
La Parca did not win a whole lot in WCW.
Yeah, sometimes you have to win to win. How about that?
Yep. Yeah, but that's and you've met him. You said you've seen him without a mask.
Yeah, I was like, wow, he looks Hispanic.
Imagine that, a Mexican wrestler looking Hispanic. All right,
exactly. That's shocking world.
Now let's go to your number 2s, Chino. I don't know about you, but I would bump that shit in the car if I could. So anyway, your number 2, that's Rey Mysterio, and that was Rey Mysterio's theme when he was unmasked in WCW.
Yeah. If people wouldn't notice, they would say, "Oh, that's Conan's," but no, because they both had it. But yeah, Rey Mysterio without the mask, and just like you, man, that's what I remember. I remember the old school WCW Rey Mysterio. And like I said, he adapted at the time. Currently, he's even the main roster right now. He's in the SmackDown, and he used to be in Lucha Underground, and he was all over. He did New Japan. You know, it's like the guy just adapts, and that's cool. He's like a Chris Jericho, freaking, and it's nice. And like, what's cool about it, like he used to be this crazy high flyer, but now he became more like like he still does some of the high flying stuff, but he seems to like slow it down, and it still puts on great matches. So like I said, this guy definitely shows great qualities to represent lucha libre in general, or represent wrestling in general, because like he's been around, and like I said, he's like Jericho. He just keeps reinventing himself, and he just keeps going.
That's true. I mean, and especially like the style that he wrestles have that longevity. That's pretty crazy. Like, it's not like he was doing arm bars and drop toe holds. He was jumping out of the ring, springboarding, and at his size, dude, he would get used as a ragdoll by a lot of the bigger guys. Well, everybody was bigger than Rey Mysterio, so he was getting ragdolled.
Yeah, true. Everybody was, but like, yeah. But you also gotta understand, Rey's gone through a lot of surgeries in his knee.
Yeah, they said that's why he wore the baggy pants in WWE, right? Because he had like giant knee braces.
Yeah, because he the wear and tear, man, doing all those crazy, it does come back to haunt you sooner or later.
Yeah, and even though a lot of people like do the hindsight 2020 of like, why did Eric Bischoff take off Rey Mysterio's mask? That was stupid. I kind of dug this Rey Mysterio with the no mask.
Well, it gave him a different persona.
Yeah, I kind of dug it. I liked it. That was like the Giant Killer phase, I think, when he was beating like Bam Bam Bigelow and Kevin Nash. I don't know. I like it. I think it's kind of an underrated time. He was having great matches with like Kidman, Juventud. Yeah. All right. So now we're gonna go to my number 2. I don't even want to stop playing this song. That's how much I love this song. But I'm gonna stop. He introed the podcast. Tito Santana, my number 2 favorite Mexican wrestler, and in looking at both of our lists, this was the one guy. When I looked at the list, I was like, which guy doesn't look like the others? Because Tito Santana was a Mexican wrestler, but I don't know. I wouldn't call him a luchador, because when I think of luchador, I think of like high flying, springboarding, wearing a lucha libre mask. Tito Santana wrestled the American style. But he's one of my, not only one of my favorite wrestlers of all, favorite Mexican wrestlers of all time, he's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, period. Like, as when I got into watching wrestling in the early 90s, like, Tito Santana was the only representation of a Mexican wrestler that I remember from the WWF. So automatically, I love Tito Santana just by the fact that he was Mexican like me. What are your thoughts on Tito?
Tito's like a Hall of Famer. Tito just had that heritage, and flying forearm. That flying forearm was crazy. Yeah, and
I use that. You can vouch for. I used to use that as my finisher in XPW. I used to use the flying forearm.
Not as good as his,
well,
but yeah,
you
still did it.
And that's another thing. I don't think I've ever seen anybody else hit a forearm like Tito since then. Maybe the only one I've seen like the closest is AJ Styles, But everybody else that I see hit a forearm, like Shawn Michaels or Jericho, I'm like, that ain't no Tito forearm.
No, that wasn't a Tito forearm. But if you want to talk about a different form away, Terry Taylor, when he was in the Rooster, he used to hit a nice, they used to call it the 5-arm.
Yeah, I think I remember that. But it was like more of a, he would hit you at a different angle, kind of, right? It was kind of more of a...
Yeah, he goes more to the side, I believe.
Yeah, Tito would bounce off the ropes, take one step, fly in the air, and rev like his arm all the way back.
Yeah.
Man, I love Tito Santana.
No, like, you know what's fun? Like, one of the classic moments of Tito Santana with that forearm was that he beat the Warlord in one shot at the Survivor Series.
I remember
when
that.
When he teamed up with Warrior and Hogan. Yeah, the first one guy was the Warlord straight from the forearm from Tito Santana.
And one of the reasons I remember that him taking out Warlord and that pay-per-view in particular is that, so I didn't start watching WWF until the early 90s, and I went back and rented all the VHS tapes, like I said in the first episode, but Tito wouldn't win a lot. Like, when I started watching Tito towards the late 80s, he was putting a lot of guys over. I remember, like, WrestleMania 6, I think he put over the Barbarian. SummerSlam that year, he put over the Warlord. He was always, like, putting guys over. And that's why I remember that Survivor Series in particular, because he won his match. I think it was him, Nikolai Volkov, and the Bushwhackers against Sergeant Slaughter, the Orient Express, and what was the other dude's name? The Bolshevik or something?
Borosuka.
There you go. Whatever, that guy. And
Whatever.
I remember being like renting that VHS tape and being super pumped. Like when I think they sold it really good because Sergeant Slaughter has Tito Santana in the camel clutch. And I think General Adnan comes in and hits Tito on the back with the Iraqi flag. And they kind of make it seem like, oh, Tito gave up to the camel clutch. And Howard Finkel gets the mic and is like, Sergeant Slaughter has been disqualified. And then they play the Tito Santana music. Oh, shit, Tito won. Tito won the Survivor Series match. So yeah, that's probably my favorite Tito Santana moment, like as far as wrestling.
Good old Tito, or like Jesse used to say, Chico.
Hey, that's a good transition. Let's play a little. Let's see what Jesse Ventura thinks about Tito Santana.
Will be going against my guest at this time. And on the line, the Intercontinental Championship of the World for you, Jesse the Body Ventura. Welcome back to the Bay Area.
Well, you know what? This is going to be truly indeed a sad day for old Chico from Tijuana.
Well, he's from Tacula, Mexico.
Well, yeah, that's a suburb of Tijuana. Who cares, you know? You ever been down there? You ever faced Chico's revenge when he'd sell you one of them tacos? Wow, 24 hours later, you pay for it, Mean Gene.
Along with a little Mexican tap water.
Yeah.
Yes, I get it.
Let me say this to you, Chico. It's going to be a double loss to you. Number one, after I whip you for your Intercontinental title, you're facing a lawsuit from me, my man, for coming out on national television and lying to all the people in the Bay Area, telling them Jesse the Body Ventura hit you with brass knuckles, Chico Santana, the last time in that tag match when me and the Macho Man slapped you and that Pedro Morales from here all the way to San Jose. When they were done, they even asked us. They didn't know the way to San Jose.
I got that the first time, Jesse.
Because we knocked them out. Chico, all you got was a fist sandwich. And what you gonna say this time? What will the excuse be this time, Chico, when Jesse the Body lays the big fist right in the chops and you're down for the 10 count? You not only lose the Intercontinental title, but you lose all that money when I take you to court, Chico, for lying.
So yeah, Chico Santana. That's what Jesse Ventura would always call him when he was on commentary with Gorilla Monsoon. And you know what? And being a Mexican, I know like nowadays the PC culture, everyone's like super sensitive about you saying anything. As a kid, I thought it was funny. Like when he would talk about like Tijuana and Chico, and Bobby the Brain Heenan would get in there too and talk about the flying jalapeno. I don't know, that cracked me up. I didn't take any insult with those.
Remember, okay, let's go back. If you talk about Bobby the Brain Heenan, remember when Tito became El Matador?
Oh yeah, that was. I mean, I was still a Tito guy, but that was a little weird because that was like a Spanish thing. Not, I mean, I don't know. Are there Mexican matadors? That it was a Spanish thing.
Yeah, no, it's funny because like he used to have his finisher used to be El Paso de Muerte, which is basically the flying forearm, but the guy's like kind of in a different position.
Yeah, crouched over,
down,
bellied over.
Yeah. Exactly, and then he gives you the forearm that way. And Bobby Heenan used to call it because
Pace Picante. Pace
Picante to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was funny. I never took any insult, but
possibly no.
Yeah. So that's my number 2. Now let's go to Chino's number 1.
Viva la raza! I lie, I cheat, I steal. I lie, I cheat, I steal. Yo, mamacita, I got that passion that's lasting long. Los mujeres fall in love with that Latin charm. One woman isn't enough, amigo. Siempre cogiendo más mujeres porque soy Latino. And I'm tougher than tough, part of your blood, cuz. I lie, I cheat, I steal. I lie, I cheat, I steal. Yeah. I don't care if you don't like me. Everybody wants to fight me. Do you feel it?
You're number 1. And just to break it open right here, that's also my number 1. So we can both talk about him, but I'll let you go first. Talk about why Eddie Guerrero is your number 1 favorite Mexican wrestler of all time.
Well, if you want to talk about like history and accomplishments, he's made it by itself right there. Hall of Famer. He won the WWE title. He was a Black Tiger. He in New Japan. He's wrestling AAA, CMLL, all these different feds, WCW, ECW. He went back. He even wrestled Ring of Honor, and he's always been there to help people, and he had the temper, but in WCW, he started building that persona, that character, and yeah, man, his matches, they're always clean. Him and Ray, Halloween Havoc, that's classic.
Is that the one that you were at? That Halloween
No,
Havoc?
I wasn't at that one. That man, it's funny. That was that same Halloween Havoc that had Warrior and Hogan. That match that was Eddie G versus Rey Mysterio was I think the opener, and then they still had the Warrior and Hogan later on, if I'm correct.
And you know how much I love Hulk Hogan, but not the best. Probably not the best match.
Well, yeah, it was different compared to WrestleMania 6. I'll say that. But no, it was a different match altogether. But staying away from that, we're talking about Eddie G, and think about the accomplishments he's made. U.S. champion, tag team champions, freaking IC champion, WWE champion. Accomplishment wise, wrestling Japan, wrestling Mexico, wrestling Europe. This guy was great, man. It really is sad that he's no longer with us right now. R.I.P. to him. And to tell you the truth, that's one of the guys that definitely helped a lot of people, a lot of guys that got into this business. Probably really appreciate Eddie Guerrero. I've met Chavo. He's a cool guy, And I never really got to meet Eddie. I met Eddie only like a fan, not actually being part of the business. But Eddie was a nice guy, and maybe he had his demons get to him. But But the guy left a legacy, and that's what you want to do in this business. You want to leave a legacy, because that's what's going to stand out. Titles, things like that. It's the accomplishments that you have leave the memories in people's minds that want to watch. I always can remember the Eddie Guerrero moments that they see as the standout. Like when he won the title from Brock Lesnar at the Cow Palace. That is a classic moment. No Way Out, Yeah, classic nonetheless. What about you?
Yeah, so I mean the same. Like, I think when Eddie Guerrero passed, it was the first time I mean, I'm not, just to be honest, I don't really cry, but that was the first time I like got teary-eyed and got choked up, like when a wrestler died, like watching that Raw, where I was like, fuck, like Eddie Guerrero's gone. And I mean, to me, even though like he became like super over, and people probably remember him most from his time in WWE with the Lie, Cheat, and Steal and the Mamacita and all that. To me, when I think of like prime Eddie Guerrero, like if I want to go watch a match, I want to watch a WCW match. I want to watch like the one you brought up. I want to watch Halloween Havoc, Eddie Guerrero versus Rey Mysterio. I want to watch Eddie Guerrero versus Dean Malenko, Eddie Guerrero versus the Ultimo Dragon. I mean, I think that when Eddie was like that heel, when he got like super ripped, that heel character in WCW, man, I think that might be my favorite version of a wrestler ever. And I know a lot of people, I've heard a lot of people like on YouTube or Twitter say like Eddie Guerrero was the Mexican Shawn Michaels, in kind of saying like from the Mexican wrestlers, Eddie Guerrero was the best in-ring performer. And I think it's kind of hard to debate that.
Well, yeah, it's hard to debate that. And the thing is, like, Eddie surpassed the luchador actually brand. He became more all-around wrestler. Because he got to wrestle in Europe, he got to wrestle in Japan, but he still always had that luchador heritage, and you could see it in his matches with the halo and all that he did. But yeah, like, I agree with you. I'd rather, if I want to see some old school Eddie Guerrero, man, it's like I want to watch like the Rey Mysterio matches, or like Ultimate Dragon, or like even when he faced Chavo. Remember Chavo, Bash at the Beach
with Pepe the Horse?
Of course, Pepe is over, man. Pepe's great. but yeah, remember like then Chavo became all crazy. It's like, yeah. And he had the coolest shirt. He said, "Eddie Guerrero's my favorite wrestler." Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. That was also in WCW versus NWO Revenge, I think.
Yeah, they actually had it in
Yeah, and I know, and I say that's my favorite version of Eddie, like the heel WCW, because I think in WWE he kind of bulked up more and he had more wear and tear. And I think he bulked up more because in WWE it's more of like the visual, right? He needed to look bigger, yeah. I think. So I think at bulking up, you're going to slow down some. Maybe you're not going to be as agile. And he was also like, he probably had a lot of wear and tear as well.
Yeah, like all those crazy moves will come back to haunt you sooner or later.
Yeah, but man, go back and watch like heel Eddie WCW, man. When you heard, and to me, even when he was like the baby face with the singlet, the white, red, and black Eddie, man, with that mullet, not man, I love face Eddie too. I think face Eddie was underrated before he turned heel.
Yeah, but because I remember face Eddie, didn't he have like a match with Diamond Dallas Page? Going for the
Clash of the Champions.
The Clash of Champions, because they were going for that ring title, which I think was won in an uncensored one of those.
Rings. It was something. It was like a battle bowl. The battle
bowl ring. It was the battle bowl ring. Yeah, exactly. So Yeah, and then DDP, but yeah, that was a very underrated match because that match was really good.
Yeah, I think Eddie beats him, right? And then at the end, after the match, DDP jumps him and gives him like a top rope diamond cutter. He puts him on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Man, go watch some WCW, Eddie. The best.
Yeah.
So we were supposed. I don't think I ever told you we were supposed to have a third guest. My buddy Tyler, that was on last month's episode, who's also a big wrestling fan and listened to one of our episodes, our WrestleMania episode. He wanted to join, but he couldn't join. But he gave me his top 5. His number 5, Rey Mysterio Jr. Number 4, La Parca. Number 3, a guy that neither of us named, Alberto Del Rio. And then number 2, he had Eddie Guerrero. Number 1, he had Tito Santana.
Yeah, shout out. Yeah, look, he had Eddie, he had Tito. See?
Yeah, we had kind of similar lists, actually. Speaking of that, let's go to our honorable mentions. I see right here for you, you had also, as you mentioned, you had Chavo Guerrero. You actually text me L.A. Park and Psychosis. You didn't text me La Parca. You text me L.A. Park. So you like
because I thought you would think because you would think AAA.
Oh, I thought you thought
La Parca.
I thought you were gonna get sued or something for saying talking about the original La Parca.
Well, that's what he's called right now. Like you want formerly known as WCW's La Parca. What do you want?
Yeah, but yeah, Chavo, underrated right there. I think for sure when you talk about luchadors.
Yeah. No, overall, man, like I think our list shows different styles and shows different aspects of the wrestling in general, the lucha libre. Because I went with somebody totally out of the box, like I said, with Superboy, because I really appreciate him. He's a really good human. I actually know him, but to see his work, man, it's like see him wrestle. It's phenomenal for the time being that used to be compared to now. I mean, now like everybody flies, like crazy, but back in the day, man, that was a classic.
Yeah.
At that size.
In my honorable mentions, I had, like you, Psychosis. I think another underrated guy. Best guillotine and leg drop in the business. I had Silver King and Super Calo.
Super Calo.
Man, Super Calo was underrated. So Super Calo was another Mexican wrestler in WCW that wore, his pants were like LL Cool J pants back in the 90s. So he had one long pant leg and then the other one only went down to the knee. And he wore like one of those Kangol hats that was sewn into his mask. Backwards Kangol hats.
That was pretty cool back in the day.
But you know what I loved about Super Calo? He would do that like what would you call that? Like a fucking like swanton bomb to the outside of the ring.
Yeah, I remember that.
That thing always looked like, oh man, that's gotta hurt. Gotta hurt for him.
Yeah, you take your chances, but yeah, no. Super Calo, man, another guy. You drew a Silver King. Wow, that
I thought he was underrated. He passed away, right? Silver King?
Yeah, Silver King did pass away. But if people don't know, like Silver King is actually brothers with Dr. Wagner Jr.
Oh, I didn't. Oh, yeah, I think they met. Mike Tenay might have mentioned that. You know, Mike Tenay was
because Mike Tenay, he knew exactly where they were from AAA or what match they were doing, how long it lasted, or where they came from, or how many moonsaults they put into the match, or whatever.
And that was underrated. Shout out to Mike Tenay, because if it wasn't for Mike Tenay, I wouldn't have known a lot of their backstories. Because Mike Tenay during the match would tell you, oh, this guy, he's from here, and these are his feuds, and this is what he's known for. That kind of like got you more into like maybe like wanting to know about the luchadors. Because they're masked luchadors, so they can't show their expression. But I think Mike Tenay did a good job at telling you the backstory of each luchador during the match.
Yeah, that's what they call him, the Professor, right?
The Professor, Iron Mike Tenay. Yep, that's for sure. All right, so that was our top 5. I noticed on your top 5 or your honorable mentions, there was no Mil Máscaras.
We don't have to go there.
That's kind of an inside joke. Yeah. So no Mil Máscaras?
No.
All right, maybe
You respect people's accomplishments, and that's like I don't have to go there.
Maybe another day and another time. Maybe you'll go into you and Mil Máscaras and why you're not too fond of him. But for now, let's go to commercials, and we're gonna play a little trivia game and test Chino's knowledge of Mexican wrestlers.
La gigante de la pizza loca, nueva, con más queso, más toppings, 32 rebanadas, sabor mejorado, calidad garantizada. Suficiente pizza para un ejército. Solo la gigante de la pizza loca puede decir que es la pizza más grande del mundo con entrega. Ahora con 2 toppings, solo $12.99. $12.99. La gigante de la pizza loca se presta para la reunión, el familión, el fiestón. $12.99 con 2 toppings. La gigante, solo en la pizza loca.
I was at a party yesterday, and someone brought that gigante from Pizza Loca. I thought Pizza Loca was gone. I didn't know they were still around.
Wow, it's like it must be like one of those rare ones. Because I remember, didn't you have like a Pizza Loca around your neighborhood at the time when you used to live by? I remember that.
Yeah, I remember when I saw yesterday a girl walk into the potluck. At our work potluck with a giant rectangular white box. I was going to joke and say, oh, you brought La Gigante? But like saying as a joke, thinking like, oh, Pizza Loca has been gone for 10 years. And then I didn't say anything. And then I got up later because, people always leave food for the potluck. So people take leftovers. So I walked up to the table to see what was left over. And it was La Gigante. And I brought a whole box home. Yeah, so, for those of you that love cardboard textured pizza, Pizza Loca is still around. But now, Chino, we're going to test your knowledge. We're going to play a little game of Name That Luchador.
Okay.
So for those of you that don't know, Sexy Chino was once on an episode of a now defunct trivia game show called Beat the Geeks?
Yeah, Beat the Geeks.
So
it was on Comedy Central too.
Yeah, so Beat the Geeks was like a kind of like a Jeopardy, but more for like pop culture?
Yeah, pop culture, because there was like a TV geek, there was a movie geek, I believe. There was another geek, and then there was a special guest geek, which I got to be.
So you were the wrestling geek.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So as a wrestling geek, you got to know all things wrestling. So what I want to know is, do you know the real names of all the Mexican wrestlers that I'm about to name you?
Luchador.
Well, let's see. I mean, if you're the wrestling geek, you got to know. So here it is. I'm gonna name the real names of 10 Mexican wrestlers, and you got to tell me what luchador that is.
Okay? Oh wow!
Let's see how many out of 10 you can get.
Okay.
All right. First one, Jose Alberto Rodriguez, Chu Juan.
Oh, I have to say who it is right now.
Yeah.
ADR. ADR.
Alberto Del Rio? That's your final answer?
Yes.
You're correct. That's who it is.
So say it with me. Si se puede.
So that was Joe Biden's wife saying si se puede, but she said this instead.
So say it with me. Si se puede.
So she says si se puede.
Si se puede.
All right.
Si se puede.
So you got that one right. You got that one right. So
hey, ADR. Hey, remember who's the ring announcer?
That might come up. That might come up. So you're 1 for 1 right now.
All right.
All right. Next one. What luchador is Juan Escalera?
Juan. Okay, I'm trying to think that one.
Take a guess.
Yeah, no, that was Jose Estrada. No, that would be like the.
You were gonna say Jose Lothario? Or?
No, Jose Lothario. That's superstar. Like Juan Estrada. Like I'm guessing. I won't say like Silver King or something like that.
It was close. Octagon.
No, señor.
So you're 1 for
Wait,
2.
you mean Octagon or Octagoncito?
No, it's Octagon.
Okay.
So you're 1 for 2.
All right.
All right, next one, our number 3. What luchador is Manuel Leal?
Wow. Okay, there's Manuel Legal.
Leal.
Yeah,
Leal.
Oh.
Like that makes a difference.
Okay. What do you? I'm gonna say Lismark Jr.
Nope, it was Tinieblas.
No, señor.
All right, let's go to our. So you're 1 for 3 right now. Let's go to our next one.
Told you.
Who is Jesus Luna Pozos?
Jesus Luna
Pozos. Pozos with a P.
Jesus Luna also.
Pozos with a P.
Okay. Ricardo Rodriguez.
No, señor.
Nope. That is Charlie Manson. I don't know if you remember Charlie Manson.
Chewy's Rodriguez, my bad.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember Charlie Manson. He was I think he wrestled.
Yeah, I remember Charlie
AAA,
Manson.
And he was like a wannabe Marilyn Manson.
Yeah, I remember Charlie Manson.
All right. So you're
I'm
one.
not doing good in this game.
Yeah, you're 1 for 4. Come on, you're the wrestling geek. You're supposed to know this.
Not all these luchadors. That's the way that's how I messed up Nora Greenwell, Nora Watson. So,
so you in the Beat the Geeks game show, you were supposed to guess the real names of American wrestlers, right?
Yeah, and they asked me for Molly Holly, and they say you can say her name and her last name, but you could just say her name, and I went, all right, I'm gonna be the big guy, so I drew Nora, which is her name, but her last name is Nora Greenwell, and I said Nora Watson.
Yeah. Well, and you love Molly Holly.
Yeah, Molly Holly's cool.
All right. Well, you're 1 for 4 right now. So let's get some a comeback going here, so you can redeem that loss at on Beat the Geeks.
I doubt it.
All right. So next up, who is Jesus Rodriguez?
Oh, Ricardo Rodriguez.
Yeah, we also would have accepted Chimera. So you're right.
Oh, you want to go that way too?
No, you got it right. So now you're 2 for 5. Jesus Rodriguez.
You don't want to you want to say El Local?
El Local, Chimera, we would have accepted your buddy, Jesus Rodriguez. All right. So you're 2 for 5 right now. Next up, tell me what luchador is Kevin Citlali Zamora.
Kevin Citlali Zamora. Wow. Kenta Suzuki.
No, señor.
Did you name a Japanese wrestler for a name the luchador?
Well, you said Kevin something. I'm thinking whoa.
No, that was Chessman. I don't know if you remember Chessman. He was a wannabe.
He was the wannabe Kane, right?
No, he was a wannabe NWO Wolfpack Sting. Chessman.
I thought he was trying to be Kane.
Maybe that was down the road, but for sure he also wore like the red and black Sting attire. Which I always joke with my friend Daniel. I would say, if he was trying to be a bootleg Sting in AAA, why didn't he call himself a Sting? Like ESTING, a Sting.
Because El Sting would be have no be in trouble with the copyright.
So,
Well, doesn't I think Mexico gets away without the issue with copyright as much as in the United States.
So right now you're 2 for 6. There's still hope. All right, let's go to the next one. Who is Jose Delgado Saldaña?
Wow, all these luchadors. Okay. Gronda.
Who the hell's that? Gronda?
Gronda.
I don't even know who that is, but that's wrong. It's Esa Rios.
Oh, Papi Chulo.
There you go. All right. Let's go to the next one. So far, you've gotten 2 out of 7. This is number 8.
Wow.
Who is Pedro Aguayo Damian?
Pedro Aguayo Jr. Hijo de Pedro Aguayo.
Oh, man, you were close. This is the senior. El Perro Aguayo Senior. Close.
No, señor.
Close, but no cigar. So that's 2 for 8. Let's go to the next one.
I'm not good at this.
Who is the next luchador right here? Who is Jose Alvarado Nieves?
Wow. That was... I'm thinking of all these luchadors. And I'm pretty sure you want a classic one. You're not thinking of the new people. Okay, I'm going to say Blue Demon.
Close, but no.
No, señor.
Not Blue Demon, but it was Super Porky. El brazo, was it el brazo de plata? Super Porky.
El brazo de plata, Super Porky.
All right, come on. You got to give me 3 out of 10 at least. You're 2 out of 9 right now.
Hey, man, like I don't know all your luchadors.
Last
off
one.
the top of my head.
Last one. I would have got all of these right, by the way. If it was
you would have, really? You really would have?
All right, last one. Who is Octavio Lopez Arreola?
Super crazy.
Nope, it's Cibernetico, who was at, I think the 97 Royal Rumble, WWE? Cibernetico. Along with
Cibernetico. Yeah, I know who Cibernetico is. He later on took off his mask. You know that, right?
Yeah. And I think he had like one of the coolest masks in Lucha Libre. I thought he had an awesome mask. So, yep. I was gonna play a sound clip in celebration because I thought you were gonna sweep this and get them all right, but
yeah, right.
I don't know. I guess I gave you more credit than I should have, but I mean, either way, I'll still play the clip because you don't want to waste time, right? It's gonna be Mexican Independence Day in September 16th, and we don't want you letting them down to bring down the whole
letting them down. Wow, I have the Hispanic heritage. You do.
So let's still play the clip I was gonna play in celebration. You got that right.
Yeah, now I'm happy I would have lost, and I'm going to hear that clip. To be perfectly honest, I'm happy I lost. Unfortunately, you pay that clip.
All right. Well, you probably did a lot better than I would have done, to be honest. But go to a quick commercial break, and we'll come back to wrap things up.
¿Y esos qué hacen en la banca?
Traumarse, no están jugando. En esta tarjeta dicen que analizan el juego.
Yo voy a preguntarles. Papas.
Búscalas en las bolsas de Sabritas con tiras. Son 34 tarjetas estampa.
So that was a Mexican Simpsons Sabritas commercial. If you were wondering out there. So yeah. So
pretty much. I didn't have a clue.
So that that wraps it up for our show. Thanks, Chino, for coming back for the third time. We're in September right now, so why don't you tell the people where they can find you on the social media?
Yeah, you can follow me at Dance Chino Dance at Dance Chino Dance. Check out at one of the feds that I like to work for at Wrestling Pro Wrestling. That's on Instagram, and on Twitter that'd be at Wrestling PW at Wrestling PW. So at Wrestling Pro Wrestling on Instagram and at Wrestling PW on Twitter.
Yeah, now that the restrictions are being lifted, for at least for now, I vouch for Wrestling Pro Wrestling. If you live in the SoCal area, check out Wrestling Pro Wrestling. It's run by Brian Kendrick, right?
Yeah, it's a really fun fed, and I have fun with it. I'm part of it, and you'd be surprised who you see shows up there. It's like it's a different crowd. It's not just a wrestling crowd. It's such a different crowd altogether. But no, you can also catch it on YouTube. Just look for Wrestling Pro Wrestling.
And it's on Twitch. I know it's on. You told me it's on Twitch. And before pre-pandemic, I think that was the last wrestling show that I went to, Wrestling Pro Wrestling. And I don't think I've ever laughed as hard as I did at that show. So just so you know, it's a federation that doesn't take itself seriously in a good way. So just look for them, Wrestling Pro Wrestling. Hilarious stuff. As for me, just follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, follow me on TikTok. I'm Retro Tiburon. If you want to be part of the podcast, future podcast, just, follow me on there on how you can be a part of the podcast. As always, I leave you with the sounds of the band Ternura. Please make sure to check them out on Spotify, YouTube Music, iTunes, anywhere you listen to your music. See you on the other side.